Welcome to the Fire and Earth podcast with your hosts, Jason Mefford and Kathy Groover. Fire and Earth, giving you the keys to unlock your limitless potential.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Fire and Earth podcast. I am your co-host, Kathy Groover.
And I'm Jason Mefford. And today we are so excited because we have our friend Phil Gerbyshak on with us. Yay, Phil! Woo!
Yay! And the crowd goes wild.
Add applause. All right.
I will. Cool. Welcome, Phil. You're one of my favorite people, and I'm so excited to have you on. Jason and I were like, who do we want to be our first guest? We both pretty much simultaneously said Phil. So you are a social media guy. So we would love for you to share some tips and tricks and tools and all that stuff with our audience about using social media to get ahead in their business, their speaking career, with their writing, with their all that good stuff. So tell us everything you know in 10 minutes. Go.
Well, maybe we have 30.
Okay, let's start at the beginning. So why do you want to hear from me, though?
Well,
why am I qualified to talk to your audience?
Well, I think, because like we said, Phil, you're one of our friends and we love you. And I think one of the things that I think distinguishes you is you are a social media guru, right? But you let your personality shine forth. I love that you're a pinball wizard, right? So this morning in my little morning, time for myself, I had to listen to The Who.
There you go.
Pinball wizard, right? Okay. But what I love too is, how I think it's on Facebook where you say, kind of explain what you do. Teaching leaders and salespeople to connect as humans, one relationship at a time. Because I think especially in business, I see this, I'm on LinkedIn a lot for business, and it's just icky what a lot of people do. Yeah. And I think some people have just like this totally fucked up idea about how to use social media for business, and that's not how you use it. I mean, most people are coming off as this, sick, slick, kind of snake oil salesman, and it's just disgusting. And so let's talk about, because again, we want to try to get people to open their potential. Social media is a big tool, to use both personally or professionally. So how can we use it better to actually make connections? Because that's one of the things that I love about you is you talk about using social media to make connections.
Yeah, cool. Absolutely.
Well, I'm happy to talk about that. So I think we need to start with just a fundamental mindset shift. It's really important that we define things right. And that is when we talk about selling or we talk about marketing or whatever we're going to do social media wise, the goal is with. So it's selling with social, marketing with social. It's not on, right? We don't jump on people. We do it with them. And I think that fundamental shift, if we just focus on that and we think about with, right? If I'm going to have a conversation with Jason and Kathy, it's very different than I'm going to have a conversation on Jason and Kathy, right? There's no power up here because the game has changed. And by that, I mean, everybody has access to the same information. We don't all have access to the same insight, right? What makes a lot of people different is the fact that they can actually take an idea and then implement it for your business. So when we think about selling with social, the first thing that we have to understand is that you don't actually ever publicly try to make a sale out there, because that's like selling to the masses, and that's advertising. Okay. And I'm not telling you not to advertise. I'm telling you though, as a human being, when you advertise, it's very different than when you try to be, try to be with someone on social media. So certainly do advertise. Absolutely. That's not what we're going to talk about today, because that's a whole nother conversation about advertising strategy, landing pages, conversion rate optimization, other stuff that frankly is really down the rabbit hole. But if we're really going to unlock our potential, the first thing that we have to understand is that we're the differentiator. It's us, right? So how you behave, Jason, how Kathy behaves, how I behave, how we are on social, how we behave with the others on social is really the key differentiator. So the mindset has to change. And if it doesn't, if we just think, oh boy, it is just interruption, people invested in the TiVo to fast forward through commercials. People buy ad blockers to block ads. There's a reason that live reads work still on the radio and product placement works on television. It's because it's an authentic outpouring of something when it works, I should say, because it doesn't always. Because right now, if we said, hey, and today's episode is brought to you by Altoids, you know, they're curiously strong and really wonderful. And you'd be like, where the hell did that come from? I mean, that just doesn't work. But I see that, right? I see people right in the middle of having an amazing conversation. Now suddenly it's a pitch. And it's like, yuck, I don't like that, right? Because you don't know me yet. So as we shift, right, and we think about then the knowing piece. And this is going to be hard for many because we think that everybody could benefit from our service. And when we unlock our potential, we really think about who do we best serve. You know, we choose our customers and we think about, instead of, oh my gosh, I can reach 300 billion people in the world, or I can reach 1 billion people on Facebook. I mean, Facebook is the third or fourth largest country in the world. That we're a country. And we have to remember that, right? But that means there are literally hundreds of languages and thousands of different reasons for being on Facebook. So if we don't define the audience, you're going to get really frustrated. You're going to be like, oh, crap. Like, what do I say? What do I do? Well, it's just like here. I'm talking to the two of you. You're my audience today. I get to talk to you and you get to talk to me. And I know both of you and you know me. Therefore, our conversation is very relevant to us and people like us. So that's really the goal, right? And we can talk more about tactics and, you know, answer any question you want. But those two fundamental shifts that are happening that are completely different. There's no longer on social, we're with social, right? We're doing it with it. It's another tool in our tool belt. And then fundamentally, we need to move to the relevancy space where we're really relevant because we've defined our audience so well that we know what they need and know what's important to them, which is why I asked the question right at the beginning, like, why me? And because that's important for your audience to understand why me, because that helps you listen better. Because if I was calling you Susie and Jim, you'd be like, who the hell is this guy talking to? Is he just doing this for everybody? And, you know, and that's what happens when we broadcast stuff that's irrelevant to our audience. They think, oh, well, he didn't say my name, therefore he's not talking to me.
Right. What kind of surprises me about the social media thing is it has translated, it seems like it's translated not from real life. I mean, like, you wouldn't walk up to somebody at a dinner party. I still do a lot of massage. I wouldn't walk up to someone at a dinner party and go, so you want to book a massage tomorrow? I mean, you would never do that. That, one, wouldn't work. Two, that would be completely socially unacceptable. I probably wouldn't be invited back unless I bring good wine. But it's like, you wouldn't just walk up to somebody and do that. So why we think it's okay on social media to do that? And, you know, I am now getting inundated with friend requests on Facebook. I'm getting 20 or 30 a day. And they have tons of people in common with me. A lot of people from the NSA, a lot of people from some of my hypnosis organizations. And 9 times out of 10, I kind of see who their friends are and I go, all right. And I accept it. And within seconds, hey, like my group. It's like, you don't know me. You know, I wanted to reach out personally. It's like, but you're not. You aren't reaching out personally. So it's interesting to me, that disconnect of, you wouldn't do it in real life, but now because it's this more anonymous medium, we are. Now, having said that, what do you think, Phil, is the fear of people narrowing down that audience? Is that the fear of missing out? Do they feel like they're going to limit themselves to the point where there's not an audience left? What is that? What is holding people back from minimizing that?
So I think what holds people back from minimizing that is a couple things. One, it's they haven't actually slowed down enough to really think about who they serve. That's the first thing. That's not fear. That's just lack of strategy. A lot of people are in business that aren't really in business. They don't know who they serve. They don't know what value they bring. They don't know who they talk to. They think that everybody is their market because it's virtual. They get seduced by the massivity of the internet. They get seduced by the 1.1 billion people. I'm in a couple of social media masterminds groups, and they're not really mastermind groups. They're really groups for beginners to get picked up by sharks. It's really sad. And I watched somebody actually post in the group, what should I sell on Shopify? That's the question he asked. And then he followed that up a little bit later after most people filleted the guy for asking a question that is quite honestly, pretty ridiculous. Like, that's like saying, okay, I'd like to go in business. What business should I go into? And then follow that up with, so how do I run Facebook ads so that I can get paid to run Facebook ads for other people?
Mm-hmm.
Like, literally ask those questions. And so we think about that, and yet, because of the massivity of the internet, because it is it's the global space now, there's so much. I think people feel if they narrow it down, there aren't going to be enough people in the market. And I'm going to tell you, put in pretty much any search term in Google, and you will find thousands, if not millions, of people that you could serve, from associations to companies to intermediaries that work with those associations. So if you don't do that, right, then it's hard to talk. And I think the second thing is a lot of people aren't happy with what they chose in their career path. So then they say, well, I want to serve somebody else, but I want to skip the step where I get to know them. It's like saying, hey, Kathy, I think your profile picture is really great. Let's make some babies. You're like, whoa, dude, like, no kiss, no sex. We didn't date. We didn't get engaged. We never got married. And we're going to go from, hi, my name is, to, holy crap, we got 4 kids. And it's like,
the hysterectomy might prevent that, but I mean, we can talk.
Well, okay, that's a perfect example, though, of if I don't narrow my market down and I don't say women that don't have hysterectomies, now I've got a problem, because now I think every woman is my target. Now, some women like other women. Some women have hysterectomies. Some women want to be single. They're not looking, right? So just being a woman is not a category anymore. Because, some women, ready, folks, for a big shocker, some women don't like the color pink. Oh, my goodness, right? But that's,
get out. Just get out.
I know.
I'm actually one of them. I do not like pink. So I'm falling into hysterectomy, don't like pink. I'm falling into multiple categories.
But we think about that, and that is the fundamental shift, is we used to be able to pick one demographic category and say, this is for you. And no longer is that the case.
Well, because it is, and I see, like you said, that poor person that, or those mastermind groups that you're in, and effectively all it is their lead, generation to then prey on these weak people. Because I think a lot of times, you see scams in social media all the time. Oh, if you're going to run a business, you have to run Facebook ads, and you don't know how to do it. Well, I can teach you how to do it, and it's like, all these people are spending money and they're losing thousands of dollars paying somebody else to do something that maybe they didn't even need to do in the first place strategically, right? And the other thing that I loved, that you said too, is it goes back to the whole idea of there's a difference between sales and marketing. And marketing is advertisement. That's one thing you can use social media to do that. But if you're really trying to use it for social selling, that's different. Right? That's where I have to know, I have to like you, and I have to trust you before I want to do business with you. And so that is one of the beautiful things, again, about social media is, like you said, in that instance, instead of saying, hey, Kathy, you're kind of cute, let's make babies. It's like, well, first off, you better know the person. You got to like them before you want to make babies with them. Right? And you've got to kind of go through those steps. You can use social media as a medium to do that. Right? And actually get people to know who you are, right? Because again, I'm kind of a weird duck, right? I think sometimes I'm the village idiot walking around, like, and so a lot of people are going to go, that guy is just kind of weird, right? But there's going to be other people that are going to go, hey, I like weird guys. That's kind of cool, right? And so the more authentic we can be and actually show who we are so people can know us, really for who we are, then that gets into do they like us and do they trust us? Because have we shown them, some reason to want to have more of a conversation with us? So, and that's one of the things, again, I said that I love about what you do, Phil, and try to teach people that. Maybe share some ways for people to actually, on social media, actually get to know, let people know who you are and get to know them, so that you can establish that know, like, and trust.
Sure. So let's start with letting people know who you are. I call this finding out what's your weird, because we all have something weird about us. You know, it could be my orange glasses. It could be that Kathy does trapeze. It could be that Jason, likes music and wears cool hats. Any of those things, right? And weird is no longer a bad thing. Weird is different, and different is awesome, because different is what makes us special. So, but it's to some people, right? It is weird. It is unusual. It is not what is expected. So once we define what our weird is and we figure out what is that, then the goal is to put it out there as often as we can in a real vulnerable way. Not a manufactured vulnerable way, but in a real vulnerable way. So the fact of the matter is, I've got 14 pairs of glasses. Not all of them are my favorite. These are my favorites. Not everybody likes orange glasses. Okay? I'm just going to say it. Not everybody likes orange glasses. That's okay. But I put it out there in a real vulnerable way. And I and frankly, I open myself up to being hurt. I do. It's a risk. It really is. Now, some people are like, wow, that's really cool. I could never do that. Okay, those are likely not my audience either. But the people that say, wow, dude, those are awesome. Where did you get those? How did you come upon having orange glasses? That's one of my weird things. One of my weird things is I really enjoy pinball. So on my Facebook page, it says that I'm a pinball wizard. Mm-hmm. For people that love pinball, that is an immediate conversation starter. We can talk about that all day long, but that's real vulnerability. That's being able to be criticized, because some people will say, dude, pinball? Business? What are you talking about there? But do we really go to a dinner party? To your point, Kathy, you talked about cocktail parties, right? Do we really go to the cocktail party and just talk about business? I don't think that's at all interesting, right? Because I've been at those events where you've got the insurance salesman, the financial planner, and the CPA. And it's like the rabbi, the monk, and the Catholic priest, right? It's a joke. Mm-hmm. They talk about stuff that nobody gives a crap about except for them. So we have to change that, right? And that's where social helps us, because what's cool is when we're real, vulnerable people, some people would use the term authentic. I don't use the term authentic anymore, because authenticity kind of changes, right? It's just who we are. And by that, I mean, I may not have exactly the same values that I did when I was growing up, because I'm from a town of this big in northern Wisconsin, and things change. It doesn't mean that I wasn't authentic then. It means I'm right now authentic. Mm-hmm. I like to think of that as vulnerability. So I put that out there, and then it allows other people to connect to that vulnerability. So I've been divorced 3 times. Not everybody's even been married. But for people that are struggling with a relationship, the fact that I will share that I've been divorced 3 times means, often not in public, let's be clear, but behind the scenes in private messenger and text message on the phone, people will call me up and say, dude, I'm going through some shit in my relationship right now. Mm-hmm. And I know you understand. And can we talk a little bit? Because I know you've made it at least mostly of the way through it, right? I don't know that we ever get completely through it. It still always impacts us in some small way, sometimes a big way. But if we share that, we then offer ourselves up to be connected with by being vulnerable. Now, that also opens us up, as I said, and it's really important to know, it does open us up for criticism. It does open us up for some people to not like us. That's all right. So, but if we can be authentically vulnerable and be frequent about it, be frequent about it. We can't just do it once and then go back to posting our crap. We have to be that. Because the more that we are on that purpose of connecting with others because of what's of interest to us, what we're passionate about, who we are as people inside, the experiences that we've had, the more we can share that frequently, the more we can genuinely connect with other people. And that then leads to business, because that helps people get to know, like us, even before they get to the point where they're even thinking about business. Because most people, frankly, when they're on social, they're thinking about cat pictures. They're thinking about what the latest song is. They're thinking, oh my gosh, if I listen to Christmas music before Halloween, I'm just going to spork my eyes out. Stuff like that. So we have to be frequent. we have to be weird, and we have to be present to talk to other people. That means getting off of our profile and going to talk to them. So we have to be intentional about that. And those three things, right? The weirdness, and then the vulnerability, and then being present for other people, you put those together, and that's really where the magic happens. At least for me it does, and for a lot of my clients it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and it also makes it memorable because everybody knows you as the guy with the glasses. People started introducing me as, that stress lady that does the trapeze, because not everyone does trapeze. That's very weird. And I didn't do it once and get the t-shirt. I do it all the time. I've been flying for 5 years. And so when I post those videos, and then I've worked it into my speaking of, I can help you soar. I put it on my business card. When I was an actor, one of the things everybody always said was, under your special skills on your resume, make sure you put something that makes you stand out. Make sure you put something that they go, wait, what? And so on my acting resume, I always had gymnastics in a gorilla suit, because I did that for an event. I did an entire corporate event doing gymnastics in a full gorilla suit. And inevitably I'd do the audition and you'd see them go, okay, I have to ask
What?
this. Because it didn't. I don't know that it got me any parts, but it made me stand out enough that maybe the next time they thought of me for something else, And did other people go, well, that's stupid, and not call me because of that? You have to take that chance. You have to put yourself out there and be you. I had a friend tell me that last night. She's like, just go be you. Yeah. And if people don't like you, then, well, that's not your problem. That's their problem, because frankly, what other people think of us is none of our business. So go be you.
Yeah.
Go be you.
I like that, Kathy. I think that's really important. I mean, my buddy Steve Farber, one of my heroes in speaking, his 3 words that he gave me after I did my first program, he was in the audience. He's one of my heroes. Farber's incredible. Says, so, you're great for the first 11 minutes, and then you shit the bed for the next 49. And I said, wow, what, I don't know. That sucks. But I felt it too. I couldn't put my finger on it. But Farber's done hundreds of thousands of speeches. And so Farber says, so what's the difference? And I said, I'm not sure. And he said, well, think about it. And I thought about it. I'm like, okay, well, in the beginning I was telling my stories, sharing insights. And in the last 49 minutes, I was telling people what I thought they needed to hear. He said, so ready for the 3 words? He goes, Gerbyshak, it's 3 words. Be more you. Yeah. That's it, right? Be more you. So with Farber, right, he taught me that early on. And then the one, what I kind of just alluded to is the next 3 words that are the most important. And that is practice, practice, practice. Because it takes time, because you're not comfortable, right? You share it and you're like, nobody responded the first time. Oh, I shared it again. Oh, maybe that didn't work either. But eventually, over time, right, as you get comfortable with it, everybody else does too.
Well, I think that's interesting, because we talked before about masks and how I think, a lot of times we end up wearing masks, but what you said about, embracing your weirdness, right, and being vulnerable, because I've seen that in my career too, right? I mean, I'm a different guy. I have thoughts that go through my head that would probably scare the hell out of other people if I actually said them, right? And so a lot of times, especially kind of based on my background and my professional training, I tend to hold back sometimes on what I think, because sometimes the people that I'm dealing with are more conservative, or they're, they wouldn't have some of those same thoughts. And so over my career, I've gotten a lot of feedback from people that was the opposite of what Farber was telling you, and they're like, oh no, you can't say that kind of stuff. And I've gotten much more comfortable with myself, the last couple of years in, hey, I am different, right? It's okay. I love music. I have crazy thoughts, right? I don't fit the mold of what other people, try to do. And sometimes it can be discouraging as a business owner. Like you said, when you try to put it out there and it's like, oh shit, nobody said anything, or it opens yourself up to that criticism, that often we get, like, because I've had that even from some of our speaking friends, and they're like, I wouldn't say that if I were you. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not you, right? Is really kind of what I have to kind of go back to, right? And this point about being vulnerable and opening yourself up, because like you said, Phil, I mean, you've gone through 3 divorces. All of us have gone through divorces. Okay. So, hey, there's another thing that's all common between us. And it's a commonality with a lot of other people too. And so the more vulnerable you are, the more we share our stories and our struggles and who we are, the more we're going to attract the people that we really want to work with anyway. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we all want more of. Again, that comes down to defining your market, right? If you know who you want to serve and how you can serve them, those people don't judge you like the people that aren't your audience do. Because that whole unsolicited feedback from people who have no vested interest in your success, why are you listening to them? I mean, there's just no value there. If you're not invested in my success, then hell with you talking about my failures and how I could be different. Because frankly, it's very different if someone that I care about comes to me with feedback like Farber did. Very different than some random jackass in the audience coming up to tell me that, wearing orange glasses is really a risk. Really? It's really a risk? It's really a risk? Being a dick like you. Really right? Because I can't believe you'd come up to a complete stranger and offer that bit of feedback and not expect that I'm going to kick you right in the nads. I mean, really, why would you do that, right? So that's the other thing is for those out there that are thinking, oh boy, well, I often give unsolicited feedback. I got a few words for you. Shut the fuck up. Like nobody cares. Your feedback is not appreciated, valued, or wanted. Now that being said, for other negative people like you, please go find your group on Facebook and go talk amongst yourselves because none of the rest of us give a shit.
And leave us all alone.
We're busy doing the damn work. Right?
Well, actually, you bring up a really good point because if we are trying to serve everybody, if we are trying to fit our talk, our business into everybody, that's like sitting down in a room full of Trump supporters and trying to convince them Obama was awesome. Why are you even going to put yourself in that situation? They're not going to listen. They're not going to care. They're probably going to burn you at the stake. So like, why would you try to get in front? I've never wanted kids, hysterectomy aside. I've never wanted kids. Like, I did not have a moment of, I want that. Never, ever once. So if I am trying to speak to a bunch of women who are desperately in the midst of, some giant infertility struggle or, and I'm like, who wants kids? That's offensive to them. It's not going to serve me. You have to have compassion and some semblance of connection with that audience, or you're going to be standing there talking to yourself. It becomes verbal masturbation. And then what is the point? So trying to serve everybody, you just can't do it. It's not going to work. 50% of the population right off the bat is not your audience.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I would say to that also, when we talk about social, the goal is to educate and inspire, not to inflame. So saying stuff just for the purpose of pissing someone else off, or because you think that this is the way the world should think, you have to be more open to that, right? As a business owner, you really need to think about, I might not want to serve this or this audience, but frankly, if no customer has 57 qualities that are absolutely perfect, right? They probably have some combination of them. So we need to think about, right, who is that audience that we can really attract and really connect with and really serve? What are those characteristics, again, that attracts them to us as much as attracts us to them?
Yeah. Well, and I was just thinking about what I just said. It's like maybe you're the type of business whose goal is to open up people's minds. Maybe you are that one that is going to sit in front of the Trump supporters and talk about Obama. Maybe that is your audience, but you have to know that. There's a different tact to going after those people who are in agreement versus those you're trying to persuade. And I remember I had done a speaker's course and we did this whole thing on doing persuasive speaking, of trying to make that sale, trying to convince them to change, all this stuff. So it's just a different tact. But you have to know, you're right. And one of the things you said at first is people don't know what their business is. They haven't defined themselves yet. I think that's a huge part of it is, and that goes back to our mask chase of who am I? Yeah. Who am I really? And, do I want to hide the fact that I do trapeze and I, still have stuffed animals in my house, or do I tell everybody that? You have to pick which you want to be and then be real in that. So we just have a couple minutes left. good takeaway, Phil? Top things that you want everyone to know about this whole social media circus?
Yeah. So first is you don't have to be everywhere. That's the first thing that I would tell folks is, pick your spots to go and then go deep. Invest the time in a few places instead of dispersing yourself everywhere, because the more that you disperse yourself everywhere, the weaker you are. Think of yourself as a cup of hot coffee instead of a big swimming pool full of tea, right? That's the first thing I would tell you. The second thing is absolutely be as much of yourself as you're comfortable with and a little more than that, because, it takes time. It takes effort. Put it out there. A bit of encouragement / discouragement, and that is most people aren't watching you anyway. So it is about you getting comfortable with you more than it is you making me comfortable with you. So just get used to that. Put it out there. As your audience is small, as you have, 100, 500, even 5,000 Facebook fans, most of them aren't seeing it. If you have even 5,000, 10,000 LinkedIn people, if you're just posting out there that, you're reaching 3 to 5%, maybe 10% of those people, that's not a lot. And third, do it often and get personal by taking the conversation off the network that it's on in public. Have private conversations like this with people. Have private messenger conversations. Get on the telephone. Meet them in person. Use social for branding. Use social for attraction. Use social for conversation and connection. But to get to the full trust, often you have to go beyond just posting on social media and really getting personal, not personalized. So a mail merge that says, "Hi, first name," is an attempted personalization. Being personal is, "Hi, Jason, I really liked your orange hat in the episode that you and Kathy did with Phil Gerbyshak."
Yep.
That would be personal. So know the difference between them and then practice, practice, practice. This won't happen overnight. It will not happen in 90 days. It will take time. I'm not saying you won't get business sometimes by luck and by happenstance in the beginning, but it takes time. I talked to Seth Godin the other day, and Seth says his top of funnel was 20 years of articles every single day. That's not to say it's going to take you 20 years, but just know nobody is an overnight success.
Yeah.
You won't be either.
But you can do it.
But you can. Absolutely. Right? You can. Right? You can build on it. You can start where you are with what you've got. Yeah. Right? I say that not to discourage and like, oh, crap, it's going to take me 20 years. No. That's not my point. The point is, the more you show up, the more well-known you get. Yeah. The more often you are you, the more well-known you get. So always be you as much as you're comfortable, and then a little more.
Well, because that's what you just said there, I think was for me one of the big takeaways is be you as much as you're comfortable, but then go a little more. Because that's where the point of vulnerability comes in, and it's okay to take risk. In business, we have to take risk, right? Without risk, there's no reward, baby. I mean, you might as well just pack up and go find a job somewhere else, kind of a deal, right? And so it's more about being comfortable with who you are, allowing those vulnerabilities to come out, because that's really when you're able to connect with other people. It's when you're actually a human being talking to another human being. Because often we do try to hide behind these things, but when we let it go, and like you said, a lot of people most people aren't watching anyway. So make it more about discovering you, being authentic in the moment to who you are, and let your weirdness out and see what it attracts. Because what you're going to find is those other people that are out there, and it doesn't take millions of people. Right. It doesn't take often thousands of people, because I think this is another one of business owners, this fear that they have. They feel like they have to be everywhere. I mean, if you're an expert, if you have an expert business, 10 clients could make you $1 million a year. Right. And so you don't have to go after the masses. Find those people, be yourself, and attract those people to you. And you'll be successful.
Absolutely.
We will. Hey, Phil, how can people reach you?
Oh, well, if you can spell Gerbyshak on your favorite social network, I'm probably there. I'm not always active on all of them, but I'm present there. It's Gerbyshak. And if you want to get a quick conversation with me, the easiest way to do it, find me on LinkedIn, connect to me, tell me you heard me on the show, and then send me a real connection request. What'd you learn? What'd you disagree with? What'd you think was great? You think I'm full of hot air? I don't care. It's okay, right? We don't have to agree. And really connect and send me a message. And I'd be happy to talk with anyone here.
That's awesome. Yay. Thank you so much, Phil, for being our first guest on the Fire and Earth podcast. I'm Kathy Groover. I can be reached at kathygroover.com.
And I'm Jason Mefford. I can be reached at jasonmefford.com. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And we look forward to having you on another episode of the Fire and Earth podcast.
See you next time.
See ya.